Hope I'm audible. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I'm Krishna, and I'm the chairperson of the Women in Engineering Affinity Group of IEEE CUSAT Student Branch. The topic of our today's webinar is challenges and opportunities for startups, and the session is handled by Dr. Sam Thomas, Director, Center for Innovation, Technology Transfer and Industrial Collaboration, CITTIC of CUSAT. CITTIC is the center which provides a springboard to budding entrepreneurs who wish to launch themselves into the world of technology-based business careers. So he is currently working as a professor at School of Management Studies CUSAT, and he is also an expert member in the Startup Review and Mentoring Boards of Kerala Startup Mission, Government of Kerala, and Maker Village, Kochi. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the session, please type them into the comment box. I'll bring them up during the session, and we'll have a time for Q&A session at the end. Please be sure to keep your mics off during the session. So now, without further ado, I'll hand over to Sam, sir.
Thank you, Krishna. So good evening. I hope you can hear me. Krishna, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you're
okay,
audible.
Okay, fine, great. So welcome all of you. Thank you, Krishna, for the nice introduction. Thank you, IEEE CUSAT branch, for organizing this webinar and giving me a slot. I hope all of you are staying healthy, smart, safe. Fine. We're just going to spend some time looking at this topic called startups, the challenges, opportunities in general, and the post-COVID scenario in particular. Probably I will speak for 40 minutes or so, and then you can have your Q&A. Anytime, feel free to send me your comments in the chat box or hand them over to the coordinator. Now, okay, so let me just get started. I will just put up my slides, 1 second. Okay, I think you can all see the slides now. Okay. 1 second. Yeah. Okay, so let me come to this slide straight. A lot of people ask this question, is there anything left for the startups? Should we be talking about startups anymore? With the pandemic sweeping the world, we hear a lot of bad news about startups closing down, people losing jobs, etc., etc. So a lot of people ask this question, what will be the future of the startups? This happened at a time when, we have been going pretty well. January, the startup report of Government of India came out. We have pretty good numbers, as you can see. We had 9,000 plus startups registered, accounting for more than 4 lakhs jobs. But then this pandemic happened, and suddenly we are all into a crisis. And the question is, what will happen now? But let's be reassured that this is not the first time we are facing this kind of an unusual challenge. The world has seen many such challenges in the past, either in the form of pandemics like the Spanish flus or the plagues, or other issues like the world wars or financial crisis like the Great Depression of the 30s. And the world has always come out smarter. All that we are talking about here is, are we talking about a V10 where it is going to be a sharp rebound? Or are we talking about a U10 where we are going to take slightly longer time to come by? But it is taken for granted that we will come by. Now the question is, to what extent we are prepared to face this new world when it comes back, personally, professionally, as an individual, as an organization. Because the new world will have its own challenges, but are we equipped to face this new world which come with its own new opportunities. And the history also tells us that whenever the world has come out of a crisis, the small firms, the lean ones, are always done better than the biggies. For example, if you look at the Great Depression of the 30s, a lot of established companies, big companies, found it difficult. Many of them had to close down. But a lot of smart companies, like, say, for example, HP, came out so successful betting on the computer technology. Even in 2008, when we had a financial crisis, where a lot of big financial companies closed down, we had very young startups like the Ubers and the WhatsApp all coming out with very innovative models, offering much cheaper communication facilities, transportation models, emerging very successful. So let's be reassured that the startups will remain a career option. And the post-crisis scenario, smart startups will have much faster growth than the big guys who have already suffered 30-40% of the valuation, 30-40% the revenue dip. So startups will find it easy, given their small size, given their agility, given their relatively low structure, to reinvent itself, to come back strongly. Now, since I assume that there are a lot of people who are relatively new to this field, I was told that there are some people already running startups, there are some people looking at it seriously, and of course there are some people who are just here to know more about startups. So let me just revisit some of those basic definitions so as to get a feel of what makes startups so exciting and what makes startups probably less affected by this crisis. What exactly is a startup? Or how is a startup different from what we call a traditional entrepreneurship? Because all the companies that we see today, whether you're talking about TCS, Infosys, Reliance, they are all output of some smart entrepreneurship. Somebody founded them long back. As a small company, they grew. So are they all startups? Or for example, suppose that I'm starting a new restaurant in the town. Let's say a pretty good family restaurant. I take, let's say, 2,000 square feet, space of 5,000 square feet, space, furnish it well, and pretty well done interiors, offering the best of Indian, Chinese, Arabic cuisine, pretty well done. So is that a startup? So if I'm starting fresh, this is my first venture. What do you think? Just to get a feel of how many of you really are into the field of startup. If you can just put your comments, that would be good. So how many of you think that this new restaurant that I'm going to start in Kochi is as a startup? If you can just put your comments, that would be good. Yes or no? You can just say yes or no. Okay, no, not exactly, no. Yes. Just give me a minute, think of it. I'm starting a new restaurant. I'm putting, let's say, 50 lakhs into hiring the space and furnishing it, buying all equipments and this thing. Okay, fine. I mean, okay, some good response. Yeah, pretty good answers. This is an idea that is, Hari says, it is an idea which is already there. Good. A company at an initial and fastest growth than ability startup. Okay, good. So I think many of you know that if something is to be called a startup, it is not just that you're making a new beginning. There are three things that we associate with a startup. This is not, very watertight definition, but broadly, a startup is something, a new venture, which is modeled on as something innovative, technology driven, and scalable. For example, like as somebody rightly said, that if I start a restaurant, I don't find anything new here. This is the way restaurants have been run for the last 100 years, except for probably the interior, except for some new dishes, fancy names that have come into the menu. It is the same. So unless you find something substantially different from the way it was run, let's say 5 years back or 10 years back, you don't call it innovative. Innovation itself is a big term. We have range, big scale for innovation. You may talk about an earth-shaking innovation called radical innovation or disruptive innovation. Like for example, like electricity, when it was invented, was disruptive. Telephone was a disruptive innovation, changed the world. Internet was a big disruptive innovation, changed the world. But it is not easy to come out with that kind of innovation. It is good if you can, but not easy at all. But at least are we able to make some changes the way things were happening before? For example, when the new cheap airlines came, that was a pretty good innovation. I mean, fundamentally nothing changed. They were still flying aeroplanes, but they were able to save cost substantially by cutting down on the frills, by the meals and the facilities inside, giving a huge price advantage to customers. That was innovative. When Uber started linking cars and started offering a car service at 30% cost of a traditional taxi, that was innovative. So something innovative, either with respect to the product that you offer or with respect to the way you operate, then you call it innovative. So that is not the case with the restaurant. The second is what we call technology driven. Is technology forming the foundation of your business? If your business cannot exist without technology, then probably that is again an essential part of a startup. For example, in a restaurant, technology could be there, but then it is all limited. You may have technology in the form of automated billing or in the kitchen, or maximum you can have is a robot, duplicating as a waiter. But these are all frills. It is not into the core. But when it comes to a startup, it is built around technology. They are trying to solve today's problems using the state-of-the-art technology. So it has to be technology driven. The third is again something that a lot of people look at, is what we call the scalable. How big can you become? For example, with a restaurant, the maximum money you can make, or maximum size you can acquire is limited. With a 50-seater hotel, what is the maximum money you can make per day? What is the maximum dishes you can prepare and serve per day, given the number of kitchen staff and the equipments in the kitchen? It is all limited. But if you ask the same question, how many people can Uber serve per day? There is no limit. Uber, without owning a single car, serves something around 15 million people every day. Or Swiggy has millions of deliveries per day. So that is the limit. There is no limit. It is limitless when it comes to the number of users it can support, the maximum revenue it can make. It is all unlimited. So these are the three major characteristics that will go into making of a startup, an innovative technology-based venture which has practically no limit to the growth. And the third and one more characteristic that you will associate is what we call the profit versus value, which is again something that you need to understand as you get into entrepreneurship. Suppose you are really worried about profits, meaning that I need to make money on a daily basis, on a monthly basis to survive, then probably you're not a startup guy. You cannot be guaranteed of that. For example, when you're running a restaurant, it is very important that every day, you make more money than your cost, so that there is something left after you settle everything for you to take home. So normal companies we assess based on profits per year, profits by month, profits by quarter. And people keep asking, did your profits increase from this year to last year? But when it comes to startups, the focus is more on future, which is characterized by what we call the value. Value is more like how much money this venture will fetch if you're selling this venture to somebody tomorrow. Suppose I'm selling the ownership to another person, how much money will that guy give me is what we call value, which is different. For example, if I want 10 cents of land in MG Road, Kochi, I say the value of that asset, 10 cents, could be 2 crores because I can easily get 20 lakhs per cent. So the 10 cents of plot that I have there is valued at 2 crores. But what is the money I get from that 10 cents? Nothing. Actually, I just fence it and keep it there. I don't even get 100 rupees per year from that plot. Because it's just like idle. So it's a highly valuable asset which is not generating any profit. Suppose I have, let's say, 10 acres of agricultural land in interior of Tamil Nadu. There is no value. I mean, land is very cheap there, and if I sell it tomorrow, I may get maximum 10 lakhs. But it is generating a lot of profits for me, because if I am running agriculture there, I am able to generate money out of it. So that is profit. So are you driven by a profit, then it is more of entrepreneurship. Or if you are driven more by the future value, then it is more of a startup. For example, if you look at again something like Swiggy has a huge value. It is valued around 25,000 crores if you go by the latest valuation. There are people willing to buy out Swiggy by giving 25,000 crore. But what is the profit that Swiggy made last year? You can Google and find out that this was a loss of 2,000 crore. They lost 2,000 crore loss last year. And from the beginning, all these years, they have been losing money. They have never made profits from inception. But still, there are people willing to buy this company for 25,000 crore, because it is a startup where people think in future, the way it is being scaled up, the way it is adding new users, it can become highly profitable in future, and people betting on future. And that is a startup. So startups face this challenge of short-term crisis of managing their daily affairs by borrowing money from different sources, because they have no money, no profit, for a great future. Whereas a traditional entrepreneur, they actually make profit from the beginning itself. So they survive comfortably, but they don't become big. They don't become a multi-billionaire by running a restaurant, or by running a tuition center, or by hiring 10 taxis and starting a taxi service. So that is a basic difference. I hope that is clear. So so that is basically the definition I just spoke about, and the basic difference. And when it comes to this, is the formal definition of a startup as given by the government, like it has to be a private limited company. 10 years you will be called a startup, or till you reach a revenue of 100 crores, etc., etc. This slide is just telling you the startup scenario last year. Like, as you can see, 9,000 plus startups got 4 billion funding. I will not go through these figures, just to tell you that these are pretty impressive numbers. Now, when it comes to traditional entrepreneurship, like, for example, when I passed out of my engineering, we are only talking about traditional entrepreneurship. And none of us were encouraged to become entrepreneurs at that point of time, because it was generally assumed that for you to be a successful entrepreneur, you need experience, you need maturity, you work for 5 to 10 years, makes a lot of savings, then invest that savings into your venture, etc., etc. But now when it comes to startups, where the focus is on technology and innovation, these are the only two things that we talk about. And there is an acceptance that youngsters are definitely better with these two. You guys are better when it comes to learning technology, using technology, and your brains are definitely smarter than oldies when it comes to innovative. So when you are on the wrong side of 40s, like me, you are either good at entrepreneurship, traditional entrepreneurship, or probably you are good at just talking startups. You cannot start a startup, but you guys can. And we have enough and more of examples globally. All the big companies you find, the CEOs, the founders have come before 25, like the Sonys and the Googles, and of course, Facebook. India also, we have a number of people who started it all in some of the top companies, what we call the unicorns. Unicorn is a term that we use if your startup is valued at more than 1 billion, that is 100 crore, then it is called a unicorn. We have, earlier we had very few unicorns. I think we have something around 25, 30 unicorns in this country now. Like, these are all unicorns. So the girls who are looking at this, if they think that there are only male faces propping up in this list, no, there are few, but again, there is a generation issue which all girls to help them out. There are few Earlier, as I said, we used to talk about entrepreneurship only when you are 40 plus. Then we started talking about it when you're in your 20s. Now we talk about starting ventures when you are in your colleges and even schools. Why? Because we many times we find that this is a nothing to lose and all to gain period, where you have a no opportunity cost. Basically means that when you are studying, nobody is going to ask you how much are you earning. So whatever you do there would be extra. But after you pass out, when you try out your entrepreneurship or your startup, people will ask you, how much are you earning? Or you will compare yourself with your friends and say, my friend is earning, let's say 10 lakhs per annum, and I'm not getting anything. So a lot of comparison. So you are not burdened with any such pressures when you're at the campus. You can make any number of mistakes, start any number of new ventures in CITTIC. Many of you will know here because they say the last 20 did not work out. I'm trying something new. No problem, because the cost of operations are very, very low. You have a space coming to you for peanuts, and you have a lot of free advices available from your friends, your faculty, or lab facilities are open. A lot of support policies, including financial support from agencies like Startup Mission, government, university. So I think the best time to get started with a startup would be when you are in the campus. Even if you're not interested in becoming an entrepreneur in future, the kind of skills that you pick up are amazing. I have personally seen this, and I'm sure many of the students in this group can vouch for that, because you become best of so many things. Technology, like you learn beyond your syllabus. Handling people, like you're working in a team, so you become much better when it comes to human relations. It becomes much better when it comes to marketing. You talk to a lot of people, networking, and these skills are highly appreciated by the industry. So last year also there was a placement study conducted where they said that the students who are running their own ventures, who have shown entrepreneurial mindset, are getting much better placements than people who are more academics. So even companies are asking for how many hackathons you participated or how many competitions you participated, rather than how many seminar papers you presented or how many papers you published. So that is a big change from an industry perspective, which is becoming very important. So what are the areas where we have maximum startups? These are the top startup sectors as per the 2019. But you will all tell me now that 2020 May is all different from 2019 December, though we are only talking about 4 months. Yes. So the post-COVID-19 presents its own challenges. But let me tell you that the challenges faced by the startups are probably much less compared to the challenges faced by the economy or the industries in general. The world economy has lost more than 2000 billion industrial output, the economy loss, GDP fall. Yes, startups are also no exceptions, because 70% of the startups are affected more in travel and tourism, financial sector, logistics. But we have edutech and healthcare startups reporting increase in revenue. Many of you read in yesterday's newspaper, smiling Baiju Ravindran saying that they had the highest ever sales coming to them in the month of April. They collected 350 crores of revenue, the highest from the inception last month. He was saying that he was so lucky to be in the right sector at the right time, but then that is the way it is. So is the case with many healthcare startups. We have seen like online pharmacies reporting that we are running out of orders because we're not able to handle. We're flooded with online orders for delivery of medicines, or even all non-contact based, startups like those who are into wearables or healthcare technology processing. They are all booming. Now, some crisis that startups are likely to face during this time would be one, working capital, which means how do you manage your day-to-day affairs? Because Many of them have a hand-to-mouth existence, like, you get a little bit of revenues every month, based on that you survive. So suddenly there is shortage of funding, there is shortage of revenue. So some people may have to be moved out. So layoffs are going to happen. But in the case of startups, as I said, the impact is limited, because a startup after all will have only 5 employees. So the layoff is all limited to what, 3 or 4. But then big companies are talking about much bigger layoffs, much bigger working capital problem, because they need crores of rupees every month for them, every day for them to survive. Right? So it is becoming a much bigger problem. So 3 sectors which are emerging post-COVID would be e-commerce, because there is a lot of online businesses which are in demand, online delivery of products, online, online based, not only just retail, it could be anything that has gone online, probably is in high demand. Healthcare, as I already mentioned, education, we all know. So a lot of products have come up in the recent past. Something simple like, for example, there is a company in Bangalore who is making millions by delivering GPS-based attendance applications, because most of the people in Bangalore are working from home. So you need a package to ensure that they're definitely at home. So the GPS is tracked every hour, and attendance is punched. So those kind of things for tracking attendance. Sanitizer dispensers, if everyone is into that, we also have two startups doing that. All non-contact based monitoring systems. So we have a very interesting startup in Thrissur, where they were working on image processing with hospitals. The image processing in the sense they were collecting visuals from their CCTV cameras just to strike where major assets are located. Now suddenly they have a big requirement. Because since a lot of patients are coming to hospitals, there are shortage of trolleys and wheelchairs. So as you know, wheelchairs, people, the attendants take the patients in the wheelchair, take them to the ICU or emergency ward, keep them, the wheelchair will be kept somewhere. After some time, people do not know where the wheelchair is exactly. So in a big hospital, the wheelchairs and the trolleys are all kept somewhere. So somebody has to identify the exact location where these wheelchairs and the trolleys are kept. So this is exactly what they are doing and nothing else. And they are in big demand. They will exactly tell you that, see, there are 3 ideal wheelchairs in these 3 corners of the hospital, so that people can easily go and locate them. Those kind of things. Education softwares, there's no limit to that. So these are all areas where people are making money by venturing into these innovative ventures. You may know how many people are making huge money doing online cooking classes, online advisory services. I have a professor, a friend in Delhi University, who he was making 1 lakh rupee every month by taking physical classes. He was take training classes. So he was very upset when this happened. But then suddenly he switched on to MOOC course, and last week he told me that he did float an online course which had 1,000 registrations. So though they were just collecting 500 rupees from each person, he is talking about 5 lakhs rupees coming his way for a 1 week online course. So there are very innovative ways of people making money, and all automation, remote control applications are going to be the focus, because less labor intensive, less process intensive, less contact intensive applications driven by your IoTs and AI/ML are becoming very, very important. Are there any questions or comment? Okay. Yeah. Nothing much. Okay. Now, again, what exactly you need to focus on? Some general success parameters for a startup. These are general, but then all the more important when you have a crisis, because these factors are really examined when you say that you are a startup now. Because again, you should understand that there was a time when you just proposed a startup idea and the funds used to flow. There was a time when we had more funds chasing less people. Like I remember 3 years back when I used to sit in some of the startup associations with the startup village. There used to be a lot of people who were willing to invest, but there were very less people coming with the ideas. And slowly this was changing, and we had more people getting into startup and less people offering money. This trend is likely to continue in the post-COVID scenario because funds are going to be shorter, people are becoming wiser, less risk-taking. So unless you have your startup ready with these kind of basic parameters, clearly answer questions with respect to these parameters, it could be a little difficult for you to find people to give you money opportunities. So two things we already talked about. One is technology plus passion. We say they are essentials. Like I don't think I'll elaborate on that. Unless you are passionate, we will not get into that. It is not like a job where you just work it up if you are into a startup, because it's your own baby. You have to take care of it 24/7. Technology again, earlier we used to have a time where for startups people used to tolerate, even if you are not state of the art, even if you are not at par with the technology coming out of NASA, that was okay. People used to say, okay, after all, these are, kids just coming out of the campus, let them learn, at least happy that they could assemble at least something based on Raspberry Pi, let them learn things later. Not anymore. Not anymore. Now the market is very particular that you have to be delivering the latest technology. So this is an area where my experience tells me that I'm not a technology person, but my experience of sitting in so many evaluation panels with many technical experts, I find that a lot of students, especially beta graduates, present technologies which are not really state of the art because they are not really exposed to that. But many times we have to tell them, you go and discuss with the professor and ensure that you're working on the latest technology. For example, let's say when it comes to power electronics, a lot of people are working on developing uh, batteries for e-vehicles, electric vehicles, which can last let's say X hours, or you can drive your vehicles X kilometers. But then straight away people will tell you, oh, come on, these are all outdated technologies. I mean, we already have batteries which are much better than them. So why are you still working on these technologies? This is all gone. And many times students don't know because that is not what they have learned. So unless you are up to date with the technology, market may not really pardon you. The kind of cushion that you had probably till the pre-COVID era, the benefit you had that, I am young, I am still learning, may not be there. As some of your friends who have developed the Kerala's most talked about app today are learning. Like when it comes to the market realities, you cannot say that technology has its own limitations. People may not really accept that. Now, other five factors which are so important, and when you come to your startup proposal, when you make a pitching, or when you present your ideas to somebody, would be the idea, the team, the business model, the funding opportunities, and of course the timing. I will very quickly go through that. What do you exactly mean by an idea or a good idea? There is no standard definition of a good idea, but all that I will tell you is idea is good if you are really trying to solve a genuine problem. Again, one big limitation that I find with the kids around when they set up their own ventures is that since they have no real experience, many times their ideas are not exactly in tune with the reality. In tune with the reality. Even today, I was talking to some startups. So again, many of them I was saying, for example, somebody was developing a learning management software. But then I found that the knowledge levels are much low compared to what is expected. I mean, it's not their fault. I mean, they have to put in very energetic people, so but they're willing to learn. So you have to actually go to the market. And if you're talking about a learning management software development, you have to talk to hundreds of teachers and hundreds of students before you actually find as a software. Many times it doesn't happen. You get an idea from somewhere and you think it's a great idea, and then you start working around that and you find that there are no great takers. The basic definition of innovative idea is that there has to be a market. If there is no market for an idea, there is no innovation. It is not called innovation at all. So it is all approved by the market. And so when you present your idea, there is a definite question that people will ask you. Keep asking this question in every presentation that we hear. What is so great about your idea? What is unique about your idea? Or in our marketing parlance, we call the USP, unique selling proposition. Is there anything unique about your product that is not there in your competitor, that is not there in the market? Basically, we say that there's nothing very great. There are only three ways you can differentiate and nothing more. One, your product has more features. One, your product is cheaper. The third is your product is better on some other parameter. That is all. But it has to be preferably one of them. So you should be able to say that these three features are not there in uh, any other product that is there in the market. For example, we come across a lot of drone making startups. This is again a very interesting area. A lot of startups making drones. But many times the problem that for example, last week also we had three drone making companies making their startup pitch in Maker Village. I was also there. So many times you find that after they make the presentation, the experts tell them that what is so big deal. Like you say that your drone can carry a payload of let's say 5 kg, but I already have a drone which is capable of carrying 8 kg. So what is the big deal? You said your drone can cover X kilometers in one full charge, but there are already 2X kilometers covered by drones. So that the features are not there, so you are not interested. But then another good proposal would be, especially so important at this point of time, the post-COVID, where we're going to have a lot of cost-based, analysis. I mean, you may say that, okay, feature-wise, I don't match the best, but I'm definitely cheaper. The traditional Chinese strategy, which had its own market. I don't say that my product is superior with respect to the features, best at the market, and all that I know. But this is probably, I have 80% of the market leader's features in me, but I give it to at 40% of his cost, and that is a good proposition. So you have to be very clear. I mean, if you are an unheard of startup, you cannot obviously price it anywhere near to the market leader, which is an established brand. So you may not be able to match him, but then you may be able to give him a good fight in terms of cost. So there has to be a very clear cost strategy, which many times is linked to your design. That is again where technology becomes so important. Are you looking at a cost-effective design, which is able to give you that cost advantage? Or if you are able to offer it something else, like for example, when Flipkart competed with Amazon, I mean, it was all same. So Flipkart was the first company to offer the same day delivery in Bangalore. So there's a big advantage. Amazon could not immediately match that. They took some time to do that. That was like competing on speed. Or they say that 5-year warranty. Everybody is giving you 3-year warranty. I'm giving you 5-year warranty. That is another parameter. So something you will have to think of. Otherwise, people, especially startups, will find it difficult to challenge the existing thing. Government many times say that other things being same, you should go to a startup. That is what they're doing even now. But the private parties not necessarily do that. They may say that, okay, we love startups provided they deliver on one of these. Either they give better features, less cost, or promise me something better in terms of other parameters. So you have to evaluate how is your idea compared with your competitor on these three parameters. The next is a problem is with respect to team. Again, many times we have a problem. The startups which are usually 2-member, 3-member team. And if you look at the composition of the team, who make the team? Usually we have the best friends coming together and starting a startup, right? That is normally what you all guys do. Right? You ask them, how are you together? Most of the students will come and say that we are classmates, we are all doing IT in School of Engineering, or we studied together for this program, and we were best friends, we were hostel mates, etc., etc. And this many times is a problem, because most of the startups need multidisciplinary skills. Most of the startups need expertise from different domains, which is not going to happen. We have been in CITTIC, we have been trying our best to ensure that we have an MBA student from SMS working with an engineering student from a SOE, and probably joined by a physics students from Department of Physics or Instrumentation. It doesn't happen. I don't know why, but it doesn't happen. Probably because of different reasons. They don't feel comfortable. And this many times results in problems. You have two people starting a company. One calls himself the technical guy, other calls himself a marketing guy. Not because he likes marketing, because somebody has to do marketing. He's supposed to do marketing. And talking to that guy, we will all understand that he is not a marketing guy at all. He is also a technical guy, but somebody has to call himself the marketing manager, so he does that. So this kind of adjustments, many times I have seen excellent products not able to make them breakthrough because they don't have a marketing person. They cannot have an employee joining as marketing manager. They cannot afford. But suppose they had one of the founders who is very good at marketing. He may not know anything about technology, but he is very good at making blah blah presentations and convincing people. That would have made a lot of difference. So when you make a team, ensure that it is not necessary that you have the best friend joining as your co-founder. It is not like marriage where you're talking about compatibility with respect to all this. It is actually a person with complementary skills joining you, because otherwise there is nothing in it. So that is again with respect to team, and this is a big concern we have. Business model again is a very big topic. I'm not getting into the details there. I think I will have 5 more minutes of talk. Business model is obviously about how do you make money. There has to be a very clear way of making money, not necessarily now. As I told you, people appreciate when startups say that I don't expect to make money in the next 3 years. But they will ask you, okay, fine, 3 years, 5 years, they agree. Sixth year, how do you make money? So you cannot say that, okay, sixth year, I will think of sixth year when I reach sixth year, but the first 5 years anyway, let me comfortably enjoy. People don't appreciate. So when you have your idea, you have to very clearly tell the world that this is how you expect to make money. Basically means that, for example, when you have developed something, are you going to sell this like a transaction revenue model, one time sell and you collect money, or it's going to be a subscription model like a SaaS model or per use model? You have to be very articulate about it. Just many people just say that no, it's going to be free. I'm going to survive on ad. Like it will be an app in the Google Play Store, and will have enough downloads and get ad revenue. Fine, but those kind of things are no more accepted. People expect you to have something other than the ad revenue to survive. Your product, if the product is good, they expect you to make money from your product itself. Why just give it free and survive on the ad revenue, which could be a complementary thing, but then that should not be the major revenue model. Then we have if you're developing a platform, again, a lot of people do that. A lot of startups here also do platforms where they allow others to come and display their products and sell, and you get commission. So commission based business is fine. That is perfectly fine. But then again, you'll have to be clear. Are you more like a marketplace model, like the Amazon model, where people come display their brand, they sell and they get commission? Or are you look at more like an aggregator model, like an Uber model, as Uber model where cars come, but they are all called Uber cars. So I take the responsibility. Like in Amazon, you understand that they don't take responsibility. I buy an iPhone from Amazon, and the iPhone doesn't work. I don't blame Amazon. I blame only Apple. But if I call a car from Uber and Uber driver doesn't turn up, I blame Uber. I don't blame that car driver because I do not know who that guy is. The guy doesn't have an identity. So which model? For example, recently you came across engineering college student startup who were actually doing collection of mobile shop owners, small mobile shop owners in a place, and then collecting mobile repair orders online and then giving it to them. So the question we had is like, they were actually talking about an aggregator model. They said, we will take up this thing. But then we were asking the kind of risk you carry, right? Because you are talking about collecting costly iPhones from people and giving it to some small repair shops. And if they make a mess of it, you are responsible. But if it is a market model, you are only acting as a window between the customer and that shop. And the customer will not blame you. You can always go and catch hold of this guy, the shop, and do that. So I'm just not getting into all this, but then the model has to be very clear. The funding, of course, this is how the typical life of a startup goes. When you start off, it is all negative, you're losing money, you're pumping in money. It takes a lot of time for you to come out and become positive. So how do you survive during this period? These are all various funding sources which are available to you. All startups, at least the initial few months, will have to be bootstrapped, meaning you'll have to manage with your own funds, your family funds. So nobody's going to touch you, nobody's going to give you any funds when you're just starting up, except some government agencies like Kerala Startup Mission, and we are also proposing under RUSA now something like an idea grant. Just based on an idea, you get some funds. But practically nobody gives you funding for an idea. So you will have to actually put in at least, let's say, like or two many times if you have to really come out with something to attract some people's interest. Crowdfunding, yes, but it hasn't really taken off. It is happening, but not on a very big scale, right? Because people are not very sure about the implications of donating small amount. There was a lot of fanfare around that when it started, but then it is happening. But I do not know. Angel investment and VC funds are more organized fundings. Like, if you approve yourself, at least if you have come out with a basic model, if you attracted one or two customers, you will go to angel fund who will buy your ownership, part of your ownership for a money that will sustain you for, let's say, a year or two. Then you have the venture capital who will actually come in slightly more later stages when you have established yourself, at least some solid orders, and you want to go big. You can have your VCs, like, by you is all funded by your VCs. Then, of course, you have the traditional bank loans. For the students, you have grants and scholarships available. Just look around. There are a lot of grants and scholarship schemes floating around. You can participate in competition and win some of them. So we already talked about it. So finally, your startup, you should be able to answer these kind of questions. Now, as students, what you should be doing now? Now, again, it's very clear that at this point of time, you have enough opportunity to prepare yourself. As they say, when fishermen cannot go to the sea, they spend time mending their nets. So there is a lot of reading that you can do now, a lot of skill grooming that you can do. As I said, if you have an idea, just spend some time working on that idea. Talk to people, talk to technical mentors, talk to potential customers, domain experts. Spend some time before you make the plunge. A lot of people, just because they have an idea, in 1 month they decide to go start up. It's not a great model. I think you should at least spend 3-4 months, just thinking about your idea, not just thinking, preparing around your idea by talking to experts and trying to spend a lot of time on reading, which doesn't happen. At least I have a number of cases in CITTIC where students come and make presentations. We teachers tell them, okay, you read up further, talk to this professor, take it out, and then come back. 90% of the students have never come back because they don't want to spend that kind of time on reading and checking with experts. But no, that is not a good strategy. Now, where do you get funding? Like, I have listed many schemes here where students can submit your ideas and get some funds. These are all government agencies. So, most of these fundings are grants, non-refundable grants where, you can develop, and, even if your product doesn't take off, they will not ask the money back. In Kerala Startup Mission and Maker, they have their own schemes, NSCDB, which is a national agency, science and technology. So they have a NIT scheme. BioRack is for biotechnology. We have many of our students who got BioRack funding up to 15 lakhs. They get MET if you are into electronics and IT products. MSME, again, if you are developing something for the small scale industries, etc. On the specific to COVID-19, what are the options available? At least I have come across 6 or 7 calls specific to COVID-19. If you have solutions which will help in providing some relief in this scenario, either in terms of vaccine or in terms of gadgets, in terms of data analytics, if you have an idea that will be useful to the society, to the people after this COVID-19, these are 6 or 7 agencies that we identified, including I have added our own scheme in CUSAT. We have come out with a CUSAT response to COVID-19 that is basically for teachers. You can tie up with your teacher and propose this kind of schemes after COVID-19 as well. Again, some very specific schemes for women entrepreneurs, exclusive schemes starting from KSUM and Qualcomm, many agencies have just given them here. So I think that is basically what I have. I will just one slide on CITTIC. Krishna was already talking about CITTIC. For outsiders, if there are any, we are the technology business incubator of CUSAT, which provides physical incubation facilities and a lot of facilities for students to meet and interact among themselves. We linkage with the Kerala Startup Mission and Maker Village. Many of our incubators have grown big from our premises. The starts in Maker Village. I feel so happy when I go there and the CEOs tell us that, sir, some of the best startups here have come from CITTIC CUSAT, but they have grown big. Right? So that is what we do, and we have many funds currently offered under RUSA. Already, these are the facilities which are there. We have a Fab Lab coming up, and more, space coming up because we got kind of 1 crore funding from RUSA for setting up better TBAs, which is also happening. So this is open to all our students and alumni, as well as outsiders on a selective basis. First preference is for our students and alumni of CUSAT, and then of course students and alumni of other institutions as well. So I think that is basically what I have. I will just stop with let's say 1 quotation, and if somebody can identify who said this, that would be great. I think there are only 2 quotes. Your time is limited. Don't waste it leaving somebody else's time. You know who said it? Just type. And this is said by Steve Jobs. And the last slide is this, and this is my favorite quote about us entrepreneur. Your life today is going to be cruel, tomorrow is going to be crueler, but don't worry, day after tomorrow is going to be beautiful. This is what, again, some of the finest startups developed as in Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. So let's hope that at least some of you feel inspired to try out whatever little idea that you have, especially the students. When you are here in the campus during the student day, just try out, and nothing to lose gain. And it doesn't matter whether you win, whether you become commercially viable, etc. But just try it out, and the whole world is there to support you. So with that, let me conclude. Thank you all for your patient listening, and if you have any questions, I will be happy to look at them now. Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions now? Okay, Timothy asking, what advice would you give to startups targeting a niche market? Yes, but if you are into a niche market, I will say this is easy, because sometimes the problem that startups face, especially if you are into a B2C market where the customers are unlimited into billions, they felt lost because they don't know where to start. But there are few markets, it is so easy. As you said, there are few players and few buyers, so it becomes so easy to do a competitive analysis, because you know your competitors are, because they're very limited competitors. So you can very clearly come out with the USPs, and because you know there are very few buyers also, and then it is so easy. You can talk to them and try to understand their requirement and try to find out something that they want, but which is not provided at this point of time, and that is where you have to cash in. Any questions now? Yeah. I hope you're there. Yeah.
So we have some questions on how to present
It is
idea.
simple. We have made the process very user friendly, very student friendly, as those who come there will know. So if you have an idea, just make a 1-page write up on what exactly is your idea. Even a half a page will do, and mail it to us at cittic@cusat.ac.in, cittic@cusat.ac.in. And every month, normally the first week we have a presentation day, and whatever ideas are given to us, the students are called for a meeting that day, and 3-4 of us will sit and interact with them. The objective is to dissuade them, or probably send them back. The objective is try to accommodate as many as possible, so that we can, and if there are some corrections that we ask them to go, can those corrections and come, otherwise they are straight away admitted. Especially if you are from CUSAT, I always believe that is your place. You should be given all the encouragement. It may not be a great idea, but at least if it is worth starting off, be encouraged. So just send your idea to cittic@cusat.ac.in. When you are invited for a formal presentation, just come with a few PowerPoint slides, which are the format we tell you, and then feel free to discuss. That's all.
So there are a few questions in the chat box.
The chat box, Timothy, I think I answered your question. Okay, then how to present idea is already done. Sir, through which medium we should present our idea? Means what? I didn't get which medium meaning. Whoever said that through which medium we should be present our idea? I don't know. I mean, again, as I said, normally it's a physical interaction, except for this COVID period. Otherwise, because we always interact one to one. If the person can clarify, it will be good. Hari, again, how do you find mentorship with doubts regarding technical queries? Well, it is again not an easy question, but we try our level best. See, because a lot of people from Maker Village and Startup Mission come to CUSAT looking for professors here, especially in our science and technology division like physics and instrumentation, chemistry, ship, and all. I mean, probably we are some of the best professors in the state here. So, I mean, we can always either link you to the professors if they're available here, or I can also, you know, you can, I mean, if you're looking for mentorship from Maker Village, experts connected with Maker Village and Startup Mission, we can definitely do that because we have pretty good linkages with all of them. Because it's again a small world. I mean, if you're serious about it, you can definitely find experts. There are a lot of people offering technical mentorship free of cost. That is not an issue. It depends on what exactly is your problem, and they all expect you to be really genuine, meaning that you should have done your level best. As I told you earlier, you should have done enough reading on that, and so somebody coming with little preparation, nobody will appreciate. But if you're really serious about it, don't worry. We can definitely find experts and mentors for you. While listening to the initial pitch, what are the key points which you would like to hear? No, see, the initial phase, we don't expect you to be very clear about whatever I was talking about, like your business model and all that. Now, at least you should have an idea on which you have spent some time researching. That is very important. We expect that you would have done some reading, you have spoken to some people about this, did at least some Google-based research on the similar products, the existing product, and etc. etc. So at least that much should be clear. So that will help you also to to be passionate about your idea and to be presenting with a lot of confidence. Because many times what happens is that you present products which are very ordinary, which are already there, and many times experts will catch it and tell you that it's a big deal. But at least if there is something new about your product which you have identified based on your Google based search or interacting with some people, we definitely encourage you, because that is only to help you, because we do not want you to waste your time on ideas which are not going to work. Because as I said, all ideas will not work. Even some of the best ideas are not working. People don't find the market. Then how can half-cooked ideas work? So that is only objective. The only objective is to ensure that some ideas which are very little chance of making it big, as assessed by the experts, are actually probably eliminated before they go far, because they're a waste of time and resources. That is all. It will help them also. Because as I was saying, startup entrepreneurship is not everybody's cup of tea. Only if you're passionate about it, serious about it, you need to get into that. Yeah. Then, is there anything else? Yeah. One thing for a student startup is to make a product with the help of Fab Labs. How do we actually manufacture our first product and start moving to the market? But I mean, Fab Lab facilities are available. Like, if you want to make a prototype with Fab Labs, because see, now we have a problem. We have one of the largest Fab Labs in the country is available in Kalamassery, which is just 3 kilometers from our place, and they are underutilized. So, I mean, you have some. It's not just a Fab Lab. What we have in Kalamassery Maker Village is what they call the Super Fab Lab. Where even industry grade products are made. Even somebody had made an automobile gearbox using that. But there are very few takers for this kind of equipment, because, I mean, if somebody is looking at anything of that, we can link you to Maker Village. You can definitely make use of all the facilities there, and we can actually do that. Anything else? We have probably another 3-4 minutes. Is there anything else? Any other questions with you? What are the best platforms? You can tell us what are the best platforms? Okay, I mean, yeah, what are the platforms you are getting to know about the pitching competition, etc.? I think, yeah, this is one limitation. We have actually a startup. The question is, what are the best platforms where we get to know about the opportunities and competition, etc.? Well, I mean, I don't know whether there is a single platform where all these things are available. In fact, there was a startup in CITTIC trying to do this, develop a platform where all this information is brought in. That itself will be a good opportunity. But generally, what we do is that most of the pitching happening in Kerala, Mission has a website where all pitching connected with them are the details are connected. Because and then Maker Village has its own website. They have their own schemes. So I mean, I gave you a list of schemes which are available. The agencies which are offering this, you will have to go to each of their websites and probably look for the latest offers. I am not aware of anyone who is consolidating all that and putting them into one place. But I know there are a lot of informal WhatsApp groups and where these kind of information are shared. If you want to participate in hackathons and competition, probably catch hold of some of your friends who are regularly into it and join those groups, and you will get to know information. That is what students normally do. Vinitha is asking what happens after the initial presentation. I hope this is about CITTIC. I mean, as I said, after initial presentations, three things can happen. One, if you think that it is a pretty good idea, the student need encouragement, you're straight away admitted into CITTIC. Sometimes, if you think that the students can, probably come back after some more preparation, we ask them to do another round of research and come back. And if you find there is no merit in this idea, no way helps us. For example, we get the presentations where finally the requirement would be some office space to do the sales and marketing. Then we say that it doesn't match with the objectives of CITTIC, so we say, but that's it. So normally wherever possible we try to encourage them, put them into CITTIC, and otherwise at least give them a second opportunity. And if no way matches with the objectives of CITTIC or the TBI, then we don't take them. Yeah, there are startup expos. Yes, there are startup expos. There are very Kerala Startup Mission does that regularly, and then TIE is again an organization that you can look at. It is actually entrepreneurs organization. They have it, and then we have one more. I just forgot the name. I mean, they have the startup expo happening every year. Happens in the Lime Meridian. I just forgot the name. I will let you know. This is again organized by I think it's organized by TIE, then it comes with some name, I forgot. There are startup melas when meeting, we see pitching melas all happening. But again, as I said, before you reach there, you'll have to ensure that you have a pretty decent product that can be demonstrated. At least the prototype should be ready, or minimum viable product should be ready. And if you have at least one customer who have taken it at least on a demo basis, that will be good. What are the facilities available in CITTIC to help you with funding and the seed capital? Well, again, we have a problem with this being a government university center. We are on limitations, but we are happy that we got some funding this year. We got a funding from an agency called RUSA. It's a central funding scheme. And this year's RUSA fund, a major part, the Vice Chancellor has decided to spend it on startup-related initiatives. So you may know that there are two schemes already floated. One is a grant for startups under two heading. This is called the idea grant and the product grant. The last date is over, but still, we are having closed applications. We may consider them in phase 2. We also have a COVID response applications again from innovative researchers. But the first one is open to only CUSAT students and CUSAT alumni, and the second COVID fund is available to researchers working with a teacher. The teacher has to apply, and students can join the teacher. Okay, if there are no further questions, I think it's already 8:35. one of the coordinators can come online. Check whether we can close this.
Hi everyone.
Yeah.
I'm Mohsin Firoz. I'm the current chairman of IEEE CUSAT SP. So I just would like to thank everyone who came for this webinar. So as a small token of gratitude, we have made a small memento for sir. So that is, it is always said that the best and the beautiful things in the world can't be seen or even touched. So yeah, we have made a
Great.
yeah. So we have made a thing to present it. So I'll just give me a second to make it online. So something has happened and it is telling that we have to
I
quit the meeting.
I appreciate the spirit of it,
Sorry.
Machine. I really appreciate. I mean, I'm so happy
Yes,
that
sir.
IEEE has taken you have taken a lot of pains to mobilize this program. And I'm so happy that at least around
Thank you, sir.
20 of you stayed with me patiently for 1 hour plus. That itself is a great honor. So don't worry, don't worry.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We'll be mailing that to you or something.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, and
Okay.
all the best to all of you. Stay
Okay.
safe.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.